congratulations for Sam a Saxon.
Nice. I can't believe this is the, like the, how do you say it? The title of the series.
Yeah.
Sam
a
is Saxon. It's like,
And then sometimes people laugh, but it's not to laugh, it's no comedy.
yeah, but it's also, yeah.
How you feel with this title? What did you saw it the first time?
You know what? I wasn't sure what it actually meant, but to some of us in the United States, we weren't sure what what it meant by
Saxon.
lessons. Yeah.
Okay. But it's not, is it like it's still catchy? Is it like still catchy that you want to see it? Because you figure it must be a saxophone player or something.
I did actually think it was some kind of like the type of people, but
Okay.
as you watch the series, it's Saxony from Germany,
Okay.
which I am not familiar with much
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
There was a campaign, a commercial campaign in the 90s. I don't know if you see all of the series, and it's called Sam a Saxon. So that's why the title is very on point, I think.
Yeah, for here it's definitely on point. And it's also a message, of course, that somebody like him can also be a Saxon and identify as a Saxon. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a terrific drama series, but I want to know for you two, what drew you into this project in the first place?
For me, I have to say it's the odyssey of this man. I think you cannot write that, Everybody wants to make shows like that, but it's just unbelievable what he went through. And I think the psychological, journey of him, that was the main reason for me to feel adapted to him and to feel the identification with him and to feel like he is very specific in his life, and the things that happen to him, but at the same time it's very universal. So this was something that I felt like it's so complex and it's so human and inhuman, and all the, other political circumstances, but at the same time on the violence that is happening to him. And for me, it's only an example. I mean, it's so personal, but he is an example for so many other people.
Yeah. And
So I felt like, and also from the creative side, every episode was different. So as a director and writer also, who was in the writer's room, I felt like you can invent yourself, and him also going through that area of and the era on his in his life. So this was very, yeah.
And it is relevant, This is a story which is relevant, and I always want to do projects who are relevant to the world and point out something and go in detail to a story or to a life and or a feeling and everything, identity kind of. So to say, okay, it's political, it's also daily business kind of. You can transport it into the into now, also as a historical series, and you can learn a lot of.
Yeah, I think that's the also most important part when it's come to be the relevance of it. It's rewriting his German history somehow, because we are used to pictures and images and also historical events when it comes to the DDR and the fall of the regime, and also East and West Germany. We have seen all of it on the perspective of women and political side, of men, working class, everything, of a family who's fleeing. But this is like something that we have never seen images like this before. Okay, we know the wall, we know like I've been looking for freedom and David Hasselhoff and all of it, but how about the Afro-German perspective on a very historical event that has been told in so many ways, but not in that way? And this is something that I think for me as a filmmaker is very important, to rewrite the history, because I feel like there has been damages done when it comes to an image. Yeah.
Now, each episode presents a period of his life, how do you transition, from one period to the next period carefully? Because some time changes from every episode.
Yeah.
How you do it, or how in the story?
How do you want to approach it? With the very little changes. Was it difficult?
It's a good question. I mean, you shoot it like totally in a chaos kind of the story,
Not in a chronological way.
Yeah, not in a so it was always the question how to bring every step in, and it follows the main character, like the main actor Malik Bauer, who did that actually for me.
Yeah. I think the most difficult part of it is actually make the viewer, trusting you that although the worlds are changing like completely from one episode to another, it's still something that we are bringing them back to. It feels home, but it's completely different. So this is like when you're attached to a series, when you watch it, you want to feel comfortable, right? The characters, you're interested in them, you're triggered, you're like attached to them. And it can be a conflict if you change everything like in the second episode or the third episode. But it's also like, it's something very interesting because I've never seen something like that before. I've seen it like in seasons, but I've never seen it like the time gaps or the, elliptic way of telling a story, like historically changing throughout like 5 or 6 years. I think for me it was challenging, it was, but at the same time it was so interesting that to try something new, and to feel like every episode is also surrounding an event, a political event. So we had like a red line. We had like this consistency to go through the story, and we had Malik Bauer, of course, and the main character who was actually, the main point of attachment. But still,
and it's also the trust in the audience that we didn't take so many recaps, you know what I mean? So we didn't have to tell again and again, do you remember in the 1890 he did this? You don't need it because you are on a ride. So you have to go through it with him, and maybe you forget something from the first episode, but it is in you because it is so intense. As I watch, the first episode, I can say, okay, crazy, if you see the end, it's totally different. It's totally different, but it's the same. And you can rewatch it actually. Maybe the people should rewatch it again and again to see how this steps you mean changed or came after the other.
Well, I especially enjoy the cinematography, how that actually changed too, and some sequences you put in unique sequences, such as like his point of view during some violent scenes, or the fade to black and so on. Could you talk about that a little bit?
I think the visual concept that we developed, like Stefan Borchert and I, who was the DOP of the movie, and we kind of worked on it. We created a concept that Jörg and Taran, in conversations with them, but and then gave it forward to Sarah and Max. But then it was clear, because there was a big freedom, because every episode is a different time era and something new is happening. So we weren't very strict. But in one point, I think everybody was, on the same page when it comes to the personal perspective on his very personal, very subjective way of looking on the life and the things that are happening to him, to make them visible, but at the same time feelable. So it's not just about, looking at him, but walking in his shoes. somehow. Yeah. And then at the same time, the big political world, it was the difference was always the world viewing him, and he as a protagonist or as a very lonely figure, feeling himself not belonging, looking at them, but at the same time to be really in his shoes and to feel the pain, to feel the violence, to feel like the change is coming, to feel like something horrific, also the beauty of it sometimes, because it's a very, you know, complex story, and the power that, and also the exhausting fight he's fighting, you know, to be exhausted at some point, that you're feeling all of this, and just imagining how his life was and what he went through. So this was something very clear from the beginning, that
and also filmmaking is always a journey. Sam's story is a journey, so we had a clear concept of Stefan and Soleen. We had a color concept, so also the colors change in the whole 7 episode series kind of. And but then you have a journey, and the journey for me was, for example, to have 2 camera people like following him, and also in the gym with the 7 boxers and with a lot of people in, or big group scenes, you always follow him, and you have 2 cameras, 2 boom operator, 2 sound guys and women. You know what I mean? So this journey was also, for me, always as camera work is also like
creating on set,
and look this and look this, and then you have the big points where the cliffhangers and everything else, where you know, oh, there's the color red, and in my episodes the color changed a bit, you know, it's getting darker, it's getting more blue and green kind of, I don't know, maybe the jungle is green, jungle. So, you know, so this was clear, and then on the day it's a journey, and it's brain work, you know, you have to talk to each other, you have to ask, oh, what did you do before, what is it? Is it more a plan sequence, or is it more a shot by, I don't know.
Yeah. So basically it's viewing through him, and it changes all the time, because he changes all the time, and then he decides to do in that way, and not saying no, you know, deciding where his path is leading him. So it's very, you know, flowing with him. We decided to have a concept. We decided to do it like colorful, to break all the cliches of DDR and, you know, East and West Germany and how it looked like, because I feel like it's a very subjective, how do you say, image or vision of the DDR. It's like old school, and I feel like what's the young people doing? How do they see, like, how was DDR for them? And that was the aim, you know, to be in the shoes of young people, partying, you know, meeting each other, loving each other.
And also the 90s.
And also the 90s, yeah,
who gets
of course.
so famous now in Europe. I don't know what's in America, but in Germany,
The 90s are
everybody
back.
looks on the street like in our series, so it's like, it's pop now again.
Yeah, the 90s are back.
Yeah.
Yeah, to do also, I mean, that's the aim, right? You are doing like something fictional that's based on a true story, but you want to do it, to be also at the same time to make it like popular, right? And to make him like also, although he is like anti-hero, to be still a hero and be like maybe inspiration for people. And the series also, in any kinds of ways, an inspiration for people.
Most excellent. Well, hey, I enjoyed this conversation in presenting the journey. So thank you very much for speaking to us about Sam Saxon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye.